Hello. My name is Meredith White, and I teach Spanish right outside of Atlanta. I am doing a screencast, so I'm like photo booth recording myself, or just reflecting myself, really. And then I've got it to where you can see my screen as well, so it's an actual screencast on my computer. And I just want to explain to you or show a couple of things that I do with social media in the classroom in my Spanish 1 and 2 classes specifically. So I've got sort of this dual screen thing happening. I enjoy podcasts and different things where people are explaining things and all of that. I enjoy that immensely, but sometimes I'm like, I just wish I could see you. So I sort of like the photo booth function where you can see my face and my intonation and my gestures, but then also you can see my screen and you can see the thing that I'm explaining. So I recently, this spring, wrote a blog post for the South Carolina chapter of AATSP, the American Association of Teachers of Spanish and Portuguese. And they've got a great blog with updates of their events. If I scroll up, oops, not that one. If I scroll up, you can see they had a super cool feria, and they have all these cool events, and they put on great PD, and they're a lot of fun. So I did a blog post with them about Snapchat, and so I kind of wanted to show you how our Snapchat account works, or what it looks like at the very least, and then also how some of these Snapchat features really are just social media features in general, and they can morph over into Instagram, or I guess I should say I make sure that they do, and then from Instagram they can then sort of work themselves forward and pay themselves forward in a way that allows you to recycle the resources that you've already created, or I don't really like to think of it as much as resources I've created, but moments that I've captured, because social media really is, to me, it's a constant Christmas card. You used to hear from friends and family, right? Like once a year, and in came the Christmas card, and your mom said, "Oh my God, look at the picture of their Lucy and Tom. The kids are so big, yada yada." And it's 2018, and we have social media, and a lot of our posts can be sort of a constant Christmas card. We're looking for a great angle and a great picture and a cool filter and whatever. And so it ends up sort of being the highlight reel, which is what it's supposed to be. That's okay. Um, and so as teachers, we know that technology can't create learning. It can facilitate learning. It can capture learning for sure, but it can't create it. So it's up to us to create it. But then what? Maybe we found this great perfect moment and we've captured it, and now what? Or as Rose Rhodes, a fabulous, fabulous teacher out of North Carolina, as she says, okay, so now I've got all these authentic resources shared on my phone, or saved on my phone from Pinterest and from Twitter and all these other places. Now what do I do? And so a class social media account, or a couple of accounts, can really work wonders for, how are we saving these resources? How are we using these resources? How are we maximizing these resources so that we don't just have these moments or these resources captured for a second, and then it's like, oh, okay, on to the next thing, and it's sort of forgotten. How can we maximize our time? Because as language teachers, I mean, we'll sit on YouTube or Pinterest for hours just finding that perfect video that says all the right words that are in this particular unit, or we will search out these perfect resources. What about if we can create them, which would be pretty cool. So I'm going to show you a couple of things about that. So this is the blog post, as you can see. I'm going to scroll over here, and it goes on and on and on. And basically what I talk about is sort of the justification behind it, I guess, but that's pretty clear. Students are constantly on social media. Our students, I teach, like I said, outside of Atlanta. Our students can have their phones 24/7. They can live on their phones. And it's really a classroom to classroom issue. So, one person can be like, absolutely no phones, I don't even want to see it, yada, yada. Maybe your next block teacher says, sure, let's use the phones, but they have their own policy. So it's BYOD, bring your own device. So I like to have social media as a backup in a couple of ways. It's fun to always just have something that they can be doing that isn't sort of on a sheet of paper. If you want to use it as a formative check or as an extra points kind of a thing, you can't really require social media because then it means that each kid needs to have a smartphone and each kid needs to have an account. When it comes to Instagram and Snapchat specifically, they can't do them on a browser. You can access Instagram on a browser, but you can't contribute to it on an internet browser. So you have to have the app, which necessitates a smartphone. Facebook is not the same, but I'm going to be super honest. The kids call Facebook Mom Book because it's 2018 and we've apparently reached that point where we are the old people and those of us who are on Facebook are the old people. So they're not on Facebook anymore. So if it's back in, I think 2010, I used, we were like, oh, we have a class Facebook page. And it was like kind of participatory. That would not be that way today. They keep an account maybe to keep in touch with like aunts, uncles, grandma, grandpa. I mean, truly. And that's about it. But the former students I'm seeing using Facebook, it's not till they're sort of like younger adults, and then they're still using Snapchat and Instagram, but they're just getting like a little bit like past all of that, so then they're getting on Facebook. So it's a little bit like an older person thing. So basically students, if you're teaching teenagers like I am, they're on Instagram and they're on Snapchat constantly. Couple of types of Instagram. Regular Instagram is for your pictures, your highlight reel. Then you have your Finsta, which is your fake Insta, which is for basically, I've seen the whole gamut. It's from like calling people out on stuff, like classmates, like, oh, okay, you don't think your boyfriend's cheating on so-and-so? Here's proof. And they'll post it like on their Finsta, their fake Insta, as well as just memes and just like pointless stuff. So ignoring the Finsta part of it, that was just an extra so that you know. You've got they're still on Instagram and they're using the story feature, but they're also looking at the pictures posted. And then you've got Snapchat. So Snapchat, as I mentioned in this blog post, used to live in the part of my brain where pointless stuff lived, like size 0 jeans. It's not happening again. High school boyfriend? No, also not happening. So Snapchat was like in there somewhere with the small jeans and so like things I don't need in my life anymore or just at all. But it turns out I might need Snapchat in my life. So I started a Snapchat account 3 years ago, and it's been amazing. Our Instagram account I've had for probably 5 years, I would say. I would have to go back and look at our earliest post. But the blog post details, which I'm going to post a link on here below too, the blog post details sort of like the why and the how. But basically I do a couple of things. I use authentic resources. I take them from my phone, which is in Spanish, so I put my phone in the target language, and from my phone, I screenshot authentic resources, or I sort of create my own moments, sort of my own authentic moments from whatever's happening either in class or just like in life at that time. So I create posts, or I will post pictures and then make them like put them on our class story. And I'll show you what that looks like. And then from there, excuse me, I have the hiccups all of a sudden. Like, it's happening. And then from there, I use an app called Chatbooks, which spelled like you'd expect, Chatbooks, all one word. Green icon, looks kind of like a book opening. And what Chatbooks does is for every 60 pictures, I'm going to highlight this right here because this is not a plug for them, but it is. It's like an unintentional plug for them. For every 60 pictures, they will ship you, let me get one, hold please. I'm just literally pulling a random one out of my own collection. So for 60 bucks, no, for $8 every 60 pictures, they will send you, geez Louise, let's get this together. For every 60 pictures, for $8, every 60 pictures that you post, for $8, your card's already saved, or your PayPal or whatever, they will send you, okay, I think I did that right, 60 pictures posted, $8 charged, sent to you, is a physical, tangible book, yay, that's my dog, physical, tangible book that has the caption and the time and like anything else, like and the date and everything else. So like, let me find one from class. This one. Okay, here we go. Here's one. So this is like, a student offered to paint my carousel. Yay, blah, blah, blah. It's probably backwards because this is like reverse mode. But anyway, you can see the date is up here and then the caption's down here. So this is what I posted on Instagram. And that was a picture of my awesome student Tristan, who I guess decided that my carousel that held all my stuff was ugly. I didn't question his motives, but now I'm wondering as I'm saying it out loud. It was just bright white, and he's like, do you want me to paint that for you? So maybe it like wasn't looking real good. But anyway, he painted it purple and then with like gold details. So now it's this super cool like dark purple with this like gold sheen and like some gold drops. Anyway, it's super cool. So from class, so say this was a picture, like a travel picture. You could take a travel picture that you took of, I always take pictures of signs, like when I travel abroad in Spanish-speaking countries. I'm constantly taking pictures of signs and like people and like just weird stuff that we as teachers go, oh my God, this is perfect. And we take pictures of like wrappers of stuff and product garbage. We're literally taking pictures of garbage, but okay. We're those people. And so I will take pictures of that stuff and then save it. So if you post it to the class Instagram page, bam, like there is no need to make a physical album. You of course can like save your photos elsewhere and back them up and, you know, do all those things, but there's no need to print them out per se, unless you wanted to for something specific, because as long as you post them like just in order, these could be your 60 travel pictures. Well then, you know, poof. I mean, these are my personal pictures of my dog and like random stuff and we're out and about and yay, good times. And then classroom stuff. These are my students. They're hilarious. There's Maddie. Because who doesn't feel like that on a Wednesday in April? Oh, everybody. That could easily be me. And then there are my students. They are so funny. They made me part of their skit, but did not tell me what part I was playing. Okay. So they're really funny. So say these were all class pictures, you would just have an entire album of the things that you chose, that you posted. For example, a cool like grammar graphic maybe. Sure, even if you use, you know, pop-up grammar or grammar once in a while or whatever, because grammar is always everyone's biggest like hot topic or whatever and gets people fired up. Whatever. However you use it, then you can reinforce it in the social media account maybe. Then it just lives there forever, basically. And if you've got it hooked up with Chatbooks, then you've got it printed out in like a tangible form somewhere. Now these are really fun after the fact. I wish I could show you, but I've got them all for my personal Instagram, probably easily like 25 books probably. And I've been on Instagram personally for 8 years now, 8 or 9 years, right when it came out. So I've got every picture that I've ever, maybe I can angle it over. Every picture that there they are. Ta-da, right there. So I've got every picture that I've ever posted on Instagram is there in a physical album, which is pretty cool. So once you've got them on your class account, and say it is your travel pictures or your, like I said, again, your products, the stuff that we as teachers take pictures of, which is everything. And you're like, oh, this is too much. I don't know. Shoot, they live there forever. If kids don't like them, or if it's not useful, just scroll past it. And so it's really kind of fun that way. Then they can sort of pay themselves forward as like an extra resource. I've used them for students with IEPs at the end of the semester. If they need extra credit, you know, surely, I work to post, again, these are my personal ones. These are bad examples, but I work to post a question with every post. Work to, not always happening, but I try with every post to add a question. Say they answer the question, or it's a conversation piece. You know, you've got a student who's really struggling, but they're working hard. Maybe they can pull out, you just say, hey, go grab a book. You know, find me like 3 pictures you can talk about. And they do a little presentational speaking on that maybe. Or you say, you know, find me a book and I'm going to pick 5 pictures I'm going to ask you about them or something. There's something you can do with pictures that you've taken, that you know what's happening. There's a caption. There's all this scaffolding. So they're helpful for like IEP students. They're helpful for non-IEP students. I mean, I've probably, for my school account, I probably only got about 15 books or so. Um, in the 5 or 6 years, well, actually, no, I think the earliest ones go back to 2011. So maybe 6 or 7 years that I've had the account actually now. Gosh, that's crazy. So, once you maybe I have 9 groups of 4 in my room because I usually have 36 kids. So if you had a book per not, per group. So once you got 9 books, then you could actually even do something simultaneously. It doesn't even have to be like a choose because one, you'd have enough for like 1 book per group. Anyway, what I'm saying is the options are endless and they really just, what do you want to do with it? If you're purposeful with your captions and if you're purposeful with your posts and what you're sharing with students, then your photo albums become like curated perfectly and you didn't have to do anything. You just like hooked up your PayPal account or your debit card or whatever and said, oh, okay, $8, I'm okay with that. Now we, as teachers, should totally not have to, but we do. So it's 2018 and that's my reality and we won't go there, but you get what I'm saying. So for $8 for every 60 pictures, if you can capture classroom moments, again, authentic resources, that's a biggie, especially authentic resources. Let me just click on over here. Especially authentic resources that are in the target language. Oh my, invaluable. So let's go. So what I'm doing right now is, because I'm like talking about it, but I just want to show you the things. So when I say authentic resources, when I say like that are already online, again, things you don't have to create. The power is in your phone. My phone, as you can see, is in the target language. So if I go on Instagram and I go on my class page and I go here, the only people that I'm following, you can see it here on my screen, the only people I'm following here are authentic pages. So I follow some tourism pages. That's a great place to start. So I've got like Spanish Plans. He's amazing. I've also got like Revista Tu, which is like a teenage magazine in Mexico. You teenagers and your magazines. But then like you can also see I've got like Chile Travel, Coca-Cola, People in Español. I've just sort of for funsies and National Geographic España in Spain. I've got some travel things, but I've got some official pages that I want to follow because to me it's also a resource for students to see who you're following. So now you don't have to make some list of like authentic resources. Oh, hey guys, just find, because I find myself saying like, just find Enrique Iglesias on Instagram. Well, yes and no. Enrique Iglesias is my secret celebrity spouse, but students don't always find him super relevant. And most of the time, he's Instagramming in English. So it's also a little pointless. Or Shakira is another one. I'm like, guys, just look up like Shakira on Twitter. And then I'm like, oh shoot, she's tweeting in English again. And also they're like, who? I'm like, oh, okay. Hips Don't Lie came out 11 years ago. That was the crossover. All right. So it's like hard to keep it like a little bit relevant. So anyway, and appropriate. I love Los Racas, but like every other reference is a marijuana reference, so it's really hard to use them in class sometimes. So I try to keep it to like travel pages and that kind of thing, and maybe some like official like TV show pages. But anyway, I haven't followed anyone up until about 4 days ago. Usually I keep it 0, so I'll show you what that looks like. So like up here where it says following, in English it says following. That's always been 0, and the students always give me a super hard time about that. They're like, really? Following 0? You're super snotty on Instagram. I'm like, first of all, it's not my personal page. Second of all, no, I'm not following anybody because that's weird. Because I'm not going to follow students back because that's also like weird. So I just recently started following pages so that I could use it as like as another resource to go, oh, do you want to know who to follow? For like pictures and authentic resources and cool stuff, oh, just look at who I'm following. So there's that. I just need to like get a little better at it. You can see at the top here, I've got 667 publications or posts. But again, I've had this for several years. So that's, X amount of albums worth 10. Like I said, I've got about 10 or 11 albums for school. They're all at school, but anyway. So it's probably going to ship me the 12th or 13th soon. And then in the middle is who's following you. So I've got 184 followers. And those are former students, current students, a little bit of both. Sometimes they'll unfollow. Usually they don't, though. Usually they're just kind of like, oh, hey, and they keep sticking around. That's fine. What is new-ish is, if I scroll down here, is these little buttons right here. The ones that are moving. These were not here before, and they are new. So this is something that we will use this upcoming school year because they were not new enough to use this school year, and so I didn't, and so now I am. But basically, I've separated them by verb, and what you can do is you can see somebody's sort of, what do I want to say? Like more of sort of an instant moment, like a Snapchat moment on Instagram. But once you've posted it to like your personal story, then you can categorize it. So for example, here, so if I said, okay, if I had posted this one, let me go back to the beginning where I didn't have one. These are all, I had to post the title pages. Okay, so I said Playa de Laguna in California, perfecta para explorar. I can click on the bottom. I can see who all has seen it. So I'm like, good to know. Again, former students, regular students. And then I can, whoops, well, it continued, but it doesn't matter. Me encanta la playa. I love the beach. I can click on that heart in the bottom, and then I can attach it to one of these stories. So it's already attached to viajar and explorar, which is to explore and to travel. So I made them all infinitives on purpose because I wanted the infinitive form. So it's already attached there. So when my students click viajar, so this is them looking at my profile, let's go explorar. They're going to see, ooh, explorar, super cool, my picture, yes. Then at the top, you'll see that time running out. They're going to see there's that one, Playa de Laguna in California, also my picture. Oh, me encanta la playa. So these are photos that I've posted and categorized as explorar. At the airport, traveling is my favorite. There's that caption. A pretty view in Savannah. So again, these are all my pictures that I've curated with a caption. Coffee on the beach. Is it important to relax? I think so. And then it moves on to the next story, which is to play. So this is a photo from class. Games make learning fun, so on and so forth. So if this were this current school year, this was a Fortnite, the worst. I'm not a Fortnite hater. I am a little bit. So also some different kinds of playing. So you have video games, sports, travel, whatever. So these will just keep playing. I'm not doing anything, by the way. They just autoplay through those little buttons that you saw. So I just posted these, and notice some of them cross-post. That one was on Explore and Travel, and so was this one. So I've curated some photos of my own to be able to apply to various like titles, and so that they can kind of cross-reference. So the kids, they see the caption over and over. Again, these don't have questions. Aprender, this is a picture from last semester. Okay, so you see kind of how those work. That's a little bit hard to explain, but I guess what I can say in a short amount of time is those are posts that are available for them to see in the moment that you can categorize. But your basic overall Instagram is just like this feed. So you can scroll up, you can scroll down. I like to use this especially because my phone is in the target language. I'm telling you, it's a treasure trove that we are leaving untapped sometimes. I know I have, until I was like, why don't I ever send them pictures of this stuff? Because for me, I'll give you a grammar example. On your phone, on the phone, or like on a cell phone, is the most I have seen the subjunctive probably ever. And the subjunctive is so difficult, and it's so hard to explain to students. But every day I see it on my phone like at least 10 times because it says things like, oh, do you want that the music stops playing? Do you want that this sends at 8 o'clock? Do you want that da-da-da-da? And it has all these subjunctive clauses like, do you want that this sends? Or like, your alarm will be turned off until you turn it back on tomorrow morning. And it's all these like conditional kind of things. And I'm like, oh my God, that's subjunctive. Like, until you turn it back on, until you turn this on, until you send this message. Well, when you send this message, then such and such notification. It's all over our phones, but I wouldn't have thought about that until I sort of paid attention. So these are just regular posts that I've posted, just pictures. I've got a mix of authentic resources. So this was I guess sort of like infographic that Martina Beck's posted on Twitter today, and it just says like what defines your identity, and it has all these different, sort of aspects of identity, which I thought were super cool, like music and decisions and likes, dislikes, what do you call it, zodiac signs, etc. Also, apparently Kylie Jenner has erased all of her photos of her child on Instagram. Very late breaking scandalous news. But I thought that was super interesting because I saw it in like 3 different places in the news today, which I thought was a little excessive. But anyway, so I posted a picture just of the screenshot of the news page on my phone. That was me just opening up like Google News, screenshot, post on Instagram. Done. And then your question is like, because for me, my students are, they're level 1 and 2. They're novice language learners, but they're not novice thinkers. They can understand. Spanish is a 40% cognate language. They can understand, like, oh, is privacy important for celebrities? Is it important to you? Is putting photos of your children on social media, can it cause problems? Now, for me, later, this is me putting money in the bank. Because for me later, I can just pull this post up on our projector screen, in class, and there's your exit card. They can understand what that's asking. And if they can say a yes because blank, yet no because blank, I like it because blank, I don't like it, I don't care, they can express something, poof, there's your sort of performance, there's your language performance, and that you can mark a proficiency level, or at least, not an official proficiency level, but a performance-based thing. You can assess that when you go, hey, is that important? It's a conversation piece. Instead of just like, oh, let's look at the verb, let's look at AR verbs, da-da-da-da. Instead, front load the information, and then you can go back and go, hey, borra. Why is it no borro? Borras? Like the different forms of maybe the AR verb, borrar, to erase. Or, what's the difference between borra, borro? Erases, erased, or that kind of thing. You can do pop-up grammar. You can do anything. And you didn't have to do anything. Like, you can do everything, didn't do anything. Because you didn't make the thing. The thing is already created for native speakers by native speakers. It already exists. You just sort of captured it and harnessed it. To me, it's sort of like, he didn't invent electricity. He just flew the kite with the key and captured it. Like, the electricity's out there. We just have to fly the kite and get that right perfect moment. So this is both interesting because they know who Kylie, I keep holding my phone like this, like you can't see it on the screen, but you can, but bear with me. They know who Kylie Jenner is. They know that her child is named Stormy. And, or probably, or if they don't, it doesn't matter because it's all still in context. And really the conversation piece isn't really about Kylie and Stormy. It's kind of like about just privacy in general. And that can spark some really interesting social media conversations, especially with high school students. And especially, again, you've got novice learners, a lot of sophomores, a lot of sort of younger end high schoolers. Man, it's super interesting how they'll talk about the differences between middle school and high school, and you can scaffold those conversations and give them ammunition, and then you're talking, because that's compelling. We can only talk about fictional characters in a book, or like, oh, what's everybody wearing? Oh, the numbers, the color, for so long. And then it's like, okay, for real. Again, they're novice language learners. They're not novice thinkers. And so we really have to tap into, what are they actually thinking about? What do they want to talk about? What are they already talking about? So then you don't even have to ask them. You're just sort of like, okay. And you just dive right in. And then, like I said, this is here for when I do AR verbs, when I sort of mention them, like, oh, by the way, you've been using these verbs for like a couple of months now. Here's how you do that. Here's the formula. My students are like, oh my God, in like September, October. Then I just pull out examples like this where I'm like, oh, porra, ba-bam, done. Also, las fotos, masculine or feminine, how do we know? You can do some really fun stuff with that. As an addition, as a pop-out, but again, you didn't make anything. These are my photos. If they look like a sort of, some of them are clearly like infographics. I can't, like, this is clearly an infographic. This is my friend's travel photo. Hold on, I can't get to it. Yes, awesome. I told her I was stealing all of it immediately. This is an infographic. this is from the news, but like these are my feet. This is me getting a much needed massage after the end of the school year because holy moly. This was like a smoothie thing that I tried. This is my office. This is where I'm sitting right now. And so on and so forth. So a lot of them are just my own pictures that I've taken anything like sort of personal life out of and just sort of captured. So it's still life, I guess. Still life-esque. And like these, I recently put cinnamon rolls in the waffle maker. Delicious. If you haven't tried this, try it immediately. It's amazing. Also takes 4 minutes. Pretty sure the oven takes like 17. I'll take the 4. So then I use the preterite tense and I just put poner in the preterite because I hate teaching poner in the preterite because it's puse. Shoot me. So it's like, yo puse los rollos de canela en la máquina de waffles. Oh, delicioso. So just little things from my daily life that I thought, I'm putting this on my own Instagram. Why not put it on the class Instagram for fun and take advantage? And just put a little caption on there. But again, if you didn't want to, you could just LeBron. Everything's talking about LeBron. They lost to Golden State, so on and so forth. So everyone's like, ugh, where's LeBron going? So I just asked the question, where's LeBron going? ¿A dónde va? And I had a couple students respond to me like Houston, with their sort of guesses. But it was like comprehension was a no-brainer. Like if they responded, obviously you comprehended. Also, it's June. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. One of them was a graduated senior. Yes, please keep responding to the Spanish. I would appreciate it. So anyway, I try to take advantage of a lot of things, especially like music. You've got different titles. So there's like my little pop-up grammar, not really pop-up grammar, but sort of grammar-based, like Obsesionada, which is a great song. So I'm like, oh, are you obsessed with a specific food? Because we were talking food at that time, food and health and dietary stuff and whatever. And then the song came on and I was like, like screenshot. And the next day we talked about like secret food obsessions. Like mine is fruit snacks, totally admit it, and like junk cereal, love. And so we were able to weave that in. It wasn't like, okay, and let's look at masculine singular adjectives. Obsesionado. No, it's like they get that. Again, they're not novice thinkers. You can say like, hey, Jimmy, tú estás obsesionado con una comida específica. And as long as, again, you're relying heavily on cognates. I know it's not the truth for every single language, but we can. So let's take advantage of the 40%. If you're being comprehensible and you're comprehended by the student, then they're like, oh, sí, obsesionado, Cheetos, los Cheetos, oh, fantástico. And you're like, oh my God, me encantan los Cheetos. ¿A quién le encantan los Cheetos? A mí me encantan. And you're just like, oh, who loves Cheetos? I love Cheetos. And you can go on, even if it's just a quick second like that. But you do that enough times, suddenly TikTok, we're staying in the target language, we're engaging, and again, I didn't have to create anything. I just had the thought starter. I just sparked some kind of engagement, some kind of interest, but it's also already there. Shoot, you could screenshot it and pop it into a PowerPoint or pop it into a Google Slides thing, the night before and just have it up there as an exit card. There's all you have, it's just the hook. If at the very least, maybe use social media as the hook. And again, maybe then like the Chatbook thing, etc. Maybe you're like, whoa, that's a lot happening. Like, that's fine. Just use it as the hook then. It's there. It exists for you. The things are already made. Native speakers are already like partaking in these resources. They are created. We just have to tap into them and then somehow find a way to make them accessible to students. Sort of the same way like we use the phone. So what are all the toys that like little kids are obsessed with? The toys that look like the adult toys. The play keys, the play telephone, the play lawnmower, the play car. We make toys that mimic products that adults and grown-ups, sort of expert users, use. And what's the first thing kids want to play with? Those. Or they want to grab your actual keys, and they'd rather play in gumma, especially babies. They'd rather gum on your actual, which is disgusting. They'd rather gum on your actual keys than the toy keys that you bought them, because they know they're the real keys. So give our students the actual keys. We can kind of adjust them, so sometimes they're gumming on the toy keys, but they see the difference, and so for everything's just like worksheet world and like, oh, created, and it's okay, and whatever. They realize that, and they're like, okay, give me the real stuff. Like, what's Prince Royce actually putting on Instagram? What's the new music? What does iTunes look like in the language? What are the current festivals right now? What are teens posting? So they want as much real as you can offer that's school appropriate and all those kind of things. So it's just a nice way. I mean, little things like Apple Pay. It's fantastic. We were talking hotel and travel, and tarjetas came up, and I was like, oh my goodness. I had just seen it on Apple Pay, and so I quick screenshotted it, and it was like, tarjetas. So Apple Pay allows you to add like different cards so that you can like send money to friends, or like PayPal. They'll do Apple Pay Cash. And I just kept it really simple. And I just said, like, how do you say add? How do you say to add? Because they've got like agrega, and then we're talking commands. So students would have to maybe like undo agrega and make it agregar. I used to do this in a couple of ways when I used like tickets in class as my incentive system. So if they responded to the question, they got one ticket every time. And I just kept track like on a tally sheet. And last couple years I've been using, or this past year I've been using stamps. And so students get like one stamp per response. And then the stamp or the ticket or whatever can be, you know, toward half a point on any assignment of their choice. Because by the time they do 20, it's still only 10 points. And if they're willing to answer 20 questions, you know, sheesh, for like half a point, it's like, my students used to ask, what's the limit? Because I think they were so used to teachers giving them limits. And I was like, there's no limit. Just keep answering questions. And they're like, okay. Because the limit gave them a limit. So I think their own like personal limit kind of scared them a little bit. Like, so you're saying I could answer like 60? I'm like, yes, I answer 60. Like, I don't care, whatever. Because that's 60. Like, that's 60 things that a student would have answered with not just a yes or no, but with however complete you require. Because it's your prerogative. So, like, whatever. And you just keep, like, a little notepad and just, like, keep a tally on a note card or something, which is pretty sweet. Or have them do it, and then you just verify. It's not hard, because it's all here. So they just, like, literally physically comment on here. So you'd have to learn Instagram beforehand. Just have somebody show you. It's fast if you're not familiar with it. And pretty straightforward. So then, again, like I said, there's pictures of mine. Soy la reina. Like, where are my servants? I am the queen. Hello. So, like, funny stuff. You know, that kind of exude your personality a little bit. I don't like tell students a lot about my personal life or anything really. So anything that's like me, they find very entertaining because they're like, oh, sharing a little nugget of your life, are you? And I usually don't. So this goes all the way back. This is clearly several haircuts ago. To just like also student moments, like just in the middle of class. I'm pretty sure Devontae's faking it in that picture. I don't think he was actually pointing something out. I think he wanted to look like learning. But my caption was finally working together, because Amanda and Devontae did not always work well together, so we thought it was kind of funny. Finally working together, but also like different games and different moments. Just silly moments, like, you know, Miller in a wig was just kind of funny. The moment the students scared me. Wait for it. Definitely screamed. Uncalled for. Ridiculous. So just like silly moments and silly things. When we do Predator and Imperfect, I like to use pictures of other teachers in the building. So I have them send them like your childhood pictures, and students will guess who it is and what they were like, etc. with the past tense. Like I said, different like traveling pictures and stuff. A little bit of you know, grammar can pop up here. So here I've got the Super 7. So I'm like, hey, by the way, when I mentioned the Super 7, this is 2 years ago. When I mentioned the Super 7, these are they. Here they are. So, you know, good stuff. The picture that almost got me arrested in Spain. Picture of Columbus's tomb. Whoops. So that's kind of funny. So they're just silly different little videos that, again, I've shared. I mean, over even text, like text from certain stories. Whew, it's a lot. Student-created stories, etc. Just whatever you decide. Could be memes in the target language, could be anything, but you can share it all and you can put a caption on it, and then you've got it as a resource just to see forever, to refer back to or to reflect back on, whatever you want. The other resource that I've mentioned, like I said, is Snapchat. This is Snapchat. Someone has added us on Snapchat. Who could this be? Oh, yay, Amy Leonard. Oh, so this is Snapchat, and I'm going to do it like this. So twice, you get me twice. Ta-da. Okay, so this is Snapchat. Snapchat has different filters. I'm going to use this one because this one's my favorite, because I think it's really funny. And then here's, you know, blah, 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 your caption, yada, yada. That becomes ha, ha, ha. And then down in the corner, you can either post it to your story or like send it to a specific friend. So if I send it here, I'll send it to my husband because he's going to think, what in the world? Then you send it to him. But if you post it to your story, then your students will be able to see it. So I have one account. I don't have a personal account, but I just have this one, the teacher account. And students follow me. I don't follow them back. So when it says, let's see, when it says like add friends, like they add me, I don't add them back. So actually, like Amy added me. I know her. She's an adult. So I can add her back, and I'm going to. But like Mashal, Yavin, Kelsey, and then Amy we already did, Timothy, Mandy, she's my friend. Like I could add her, etc. But like I'm gonna add Amy because she's an adult. I'm not gonna add these two because they're students. So I'm not gonna add them back, but they can see me. So it can be one-sided. It's not like Facebook. Facebook is all or nothing. When you add each other, it's like, okay, we're in, it's mutual. Instagram's not that way, and Snapchat's not that way. Twitter's also not that way. It's not like a mutual follow. Those are all like one way. I can follow you, doesn't mean you have to follow me back, or like add me, or friend me, or whatever. Whatever verb you want to use. So students add me, that means that I've gone top right corner, and I've gone into my settings, and I'm trying to remember, let's see, I made who can see my history, I made it everyone. And then I made yeah, who can contact me? Everyone. And then I also made like who can send me notifications and stuff? Everyone. So they can still send me things. And again, in that post, I've detailed like assignments you can give, or you can send them out on like a scavenger hunt, and they can use Snapchat to send you pictures back and that kind of thing. But as long as you open it up, then they can add you without you adding them back. That didn't used to always be the way, and now it's the way. So what our story currently looks like is, again, screenshots very similar to the Instagram story, screenshots of current events, and some sports stuff going on. So I know we do, again, 40% cognate language. So you've got turbulence, temporary loss of control, clearly a plane because of the picture, etc. Then you got a couple of sports highlights. I thought this was really interesting too because we had talked about La Barbie a couple of times in one of our warm-ups. And then again, there's Kylie Jenner. So I actually underlined borra this time and said borrar, to erase, as just a little bit of a grammatical side note. Also, excuse me, I have hiccups again. Also mentioned to them that I've updated the page for our Instagram page. But then I had to go to the mall today to run some errands and go to the Apple store. So I mentioned like, the mall's not my favorite, but I need to go to Apple for my watch. So, because I dropped it. So, whatever. So that picture took me 2 seconds, literally, just to like snap in front of the mall. I just added my little Bitmoji picture on there, optional. And then I added the caption, 20 seconds maybe, and then just posted it to the story. Now, if I wanted to save this, again, it's an exit card, or it's a warm-up, or it's just a questioning tool. ¿Qué necesita la señora? Like, what does she need? Why? So here comes your questioning in the target language. Why is she going to the mall? What do they have in the mall? Do they have food or clothing? Do they have food and clothing? What's your favorite mall? Do we have a mall here? And so on and so forth. I mean, until you're blue in the face, you could keep questioning. Is the mall big? I mean, that's the Mall of Georgia, so it's huge. And we just happen to live near it. So yeah, the Mall of Georgia, is it big or is it small? Is it big or is it medium? Is it big or is it super big? Oh, maybe that's opinion. I mean, these are all pretty much cognates, I'm thinking, but very comprehensible to students, especially with gestures and especially with some scaffolding. So what this looks like, again, is just on your phone. If you can't project it like I am here, I can't at school because I don't have a Mac at school. So maybe just like screenshotting it and saving it to, your Google Drive from your phone, or the phone really is the integral part. So if you're not kind of playing with the many, many smartphone features, that's sort of the most important part, I suppose. Even if you email it to yourself, I mean, somehow if you get it to yourself and you can pop it up there, shoot, 4 or 5 minutes in the class, take 1.5 to 2 minutes to like mention a few things about this, and then give students like 2 minutes to write on a note card or something, so now what? ¿Tú tienes, do you have an Apple Watch? Do you have an Apple or an Android? You know, I mean, like, why? Why do you, which is better? And you're jotting better in the target language, you know, and so on and so forth. I mean, you're working a lot for it. It's a lot of input, but then students are going, oh, okay, okay. And they can kind of go with you, even at the novice levels. I teach 1 and 2. I don't teach higher than that. So, so I say that to say, it's it's a lot that it takes to get them to those levels, but they can do it. They can do it. So then after that, I had mentioned this particular bishop actually 2 or 3 times. We had looked at headlines from Chile, and that's why I was like, "Do you remember him from a gazillion headlines in class?" He officially resigned, like as of yesterday, I guess, or today. And then we've got a story about migrants. They went to Italy. They turned them away. They went to Spain. So a couple of the things that we saw every single day, like the last 2 weeks of school or 3 weeks of school, looking at the New York Times every day because they have a Spanish edition now. Man, everything we saw was like the bishop in Chile and like all these different migrants showing up at different areas, going north, like across the Mediterranean, and certain countries saying no or saying yes or that kind of thing. So super interesting. Those captions, obviously, as you saw, were in English, so it is what it is. Because it's June, and I just wanted sort of a connection. So I guess you got to be choosy, but it's totally up to you. So from here, like I said, this is your story, and so you can post kind of whatever you want. If you want to, again, screenshot, look at the news or look at something that's on Twitter, or I'm trying to think, find some kind of authentic resource. If I go to, if I go to, let's go to that National Geographic page. Let's find something. They always have the best pictures. Find like the National Geographic or some kind of reporting page in your target language. Man, their pictures are killer. Let's see. Oh, that's fantastic. I'm trying to think of something I can use that's like really simple. Okay. But this. Okay, so if I screenshotted that, I'm going to go back to Snapchat. I'm going to go back to Carrete. I'm going to go back to here. Edit. And what can I take out of here for? Let's see. Let me see here. I'm trying to look on the screen and see where my finger's pointing. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Let me switch colors here. Oh, it didn't. What? Did it not? Let's try this again. I don't want text. I want that. No. There we go. Let's see. Oh, shoot. It kind of blocks it, doesn't it? Okay. Okay, so say I used, oh, sheesh. Then I marked out tonalidades. Okay, close enough. So I've got green and red happening. You could even go far as to click on text and do that green one. So the green one, what did I do in green? Okay, Morocco. Oops. Morocco. And I can do that in green. That same green. So I can like mark it sort of. Almost make like a little key, like a little legend. And then in red, I'm just swiping up here, I can say blue tones. And how can I not block? Oh, boy, hey-o, go back. How can I not block out any text and make this like small? Let's see. Oh, shoot, I don't want it. There we go. Hey, does that do it? Okay. Maybe. Okay, so now you've got like a color-coded system. So you've got like the red, blue tones, Marruecos. So you've sort of, again, scaffolded something that you didn't have to come up with. They took this beautiful picture from Morocco. Cool, amazing. Blue tones, love it. If that's all they get, whatever. They also see that Nat Geo España exists. They see the name of a place. I mean, it's all just extra. It's additive. See, this is additive. And then BDB, I mean, you could even week 1, week 2. Well, we don't really do colors to clothing because that's about the only time it comes up. High schoolers aren't introducing themselves like, hi, my name is Jimmy. I'm 15. My favorite color is blue, because they're not 4. And this isn't Finding Dory. So they colors don't come up later till, like, you know, clothing, etc. But if you wanted to, you could pull in the, you know, blue tones. What's your favorite? Why? You know, I mean, you could find all sorts of colored travel pictures that are amazing, amazing to talk about. Again, input. So I'm just going to hit that blue arrow. I'm going to post it on my story, and poof. I mean, that's not real super exciting or special, but it's just them seeing like a super cool place and a professional picture, and it's an authentic resource. An authentic resource is authentic resource at the end of the day. So I say, why not? So between those two, between Snapchat and Instagram, they usually have pretty much the same things posted, meaning whatever's on our Snapchat story is also on our Instagram story that day. So if, you know, or like these are more permanent posts. So when I say Instagram story, I'm going to click on my photo up here in the upper left-hand corner. Normally it's not going to be this like busy and all those like lines up here at the top. This is individual photos. So it's going to literally right now just like screen through all these individual photos. In let's see, 13 hours. I posted these ago. So in 11 hours, these are going to be gone. So these go every 24 hours. But because I've tagged them onto like one of those little button stories, they're going to stay. So they won't stay on here, but they'll stay on those little button stories. So in 12, 11 hours, these will all be gone. Like this will all be blank. So you can treat your Instagram story like a Snapchat story as well. And so what I'm saying is usually those are parallel. And then from there, if you had one that you wanted to tag onto one of these like verbs that you think matches this. So in August, when the school year starts up, or when I take students to Peru next week, I'm probably going to be posting the heck out of maybe explorar and viajar, because they'll just apply to those. But when the school year starts up, then maybe certain moments of like working in class or like celebrating something or learning. And I'm just using these verbs because I'm getting them off the infinitives that I've created here. Or teaching or like working out, you know, whatever. Any moments that we can capture in here and that I can make to be thought-provoking or conversation-provoking, I'm going to post them on there, and then I'm going to like, you know, sort of tag them specifically. So it's just really fun. But again, it just takes advantage of the moments that you're already living and the resources that are already made for you. They're already created for people to consume, and people are already consuming them. So there's nothing that needs to be made, because we just spend so much time in front of a screen, like I said, staring for that perfect cooking video that has, I need eggplant and lettuce and tomato and then soup, you know, and it's like, oh my God, we'll just be blue in the face before we find all the stuff that we need. Instead, how about we use the things that already exist and find parallels to what we're already doing? Or if we can't possibly find anything authentic that matches up, maybe that's a sign that whatever we're trying to match it to is a little contrived. So if it's week 1 and you're trying to figure out how to integrate colors, and I don't know how to, maybe it need not be integrated until it comes in sort of organically. And that's kind of what it comes down to. So what you see repeated a lot in different posts, like I said, be it authentic resources or whatever, is the Super 7, is, wants, has, goes, etc. In whatever target language, the Super 7, which is easily Googleable, and high frequency vocabulary, which is a lot of present tense, and especially in the news headlines, a fair amount of preterite and imperfect. And I'm just using Spanish examples. A fair amount of past tense, and then actually the same sort of past tense verbs over and over. And it's usually the Super 7. Usually it's like was, went, was going, you know, those kind of things. So those are pretty easily predictable. So once you know that, and again, if I'm using like, let's see, New York Times in Spanish, if I'm using like this resource, There is a man in a short shirt. Of course there is when I pull this up as I'm doing a screencast. Figures. It's like pulling up Google in front of class. It never goes well. Or YouTube. Oh, don't ever do that. So, so for example, you've got the New York Times in Spanish here. You can see right here, you've got tienes, but you've got tienes que, like you have to. Well, poof, there's your screenshot. Have versus have to. Like they have versus you have to. Or, the European policy or European politics, I haven't looked at the context, in the Mediterranean. Look at that, even just that word order. And so on and so forth. It's just like, it's a wealth of information, but there's tienes for the third time, like on, whatever, this much screen. So obviously, tener, to have, heavy hitter. It's the same thing with all the rest of the Super 7 or Super 16, is you're going to see a lot of, here we go, is, has, you are, like a lot of those kind of things. And again, there's that privacidad. Didn't I just post today about privacidad in the Kylie Jenner picture? So this is super interesting. Apple avoided referring to privacy problems that have recently affected the technology industry, even though it presented functions that could be able to combat the software. Interesting. And the addiction to cell phones. I might actually just screenshot this while we're here because this is kind of awesome. Ba-bam. Okay, done. So anyways, but then you've also got like to be right here. So you've got like forms of to be, and then you've got the verb to be. So again, like Super 7 over and over and over, Super 16 over and over and over. So instead of constantly trying to find things that fit to things, how about just making sure that we're teaching things that authentic resources naturally sort of fit to, and then crafting as many resources as we can with our own pictures or in our own captions, and then just recycling as many of those as possible. Because to a degree, our lives are somewhat interesting to our students, some more than others, some less than others, whatever. But still, authenticity is authenticity. And the more pictures and the more things that we can share with them, even if it's just a picture in high school, where'd that picture of me go? We had a picture where we had, what do you call it? There it is. Like, what's it called? Powder Puff. Powder Puff football. And so I posted, this picture and I was like, oh, junior year. What did I say? Why did I say teacher, like, not mysterious? I'm trying to think. I don't remember, but they always joke and say, like, you're so mysterious because I don't tell them anything about my personal life. So I think I was like actually sharing a photo from high school, and they were amazed and shocked because I never share anything. But again, different memes, like even just the learning experience in general, I like to share with them different things from Twitter and, people who blog and stuff like that. It's like, if it's just all in the language, that's fine. I like to share about the language too. And I like to share sort of the method behind the madness. As well as just little moments, like we all happened to wear Vans tennis shoes one day. And I thought that was kind of fun. So, ta-da, there we go. It can be an important moment. It can be a silly moment. It can be whatever. Technology doesn't create the learning, but it does a really cool job of capturing it. And I think that's pretty special. So hopefully you've been able to see how Instagram and Snapchat capture those. I know this has been really fast. And if you're not familiar with either two of just the apps themselves, I absolutely recommend that you familiarize yourself. Just play around on your phone. Just download them. I was purposeful in my handle, so I wanted my Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat handle to all be the same. So I looked them up on each before, and you just search it, like in the search function. I just searched them all before I made it, and then I was like, quick, PRHS Spanish, like, sign up for all of them. So mine are the same across the board, which is really nice. So on, like, my business cards that I give parents, I can just say, where do I have it? Why is it not on there? Oh, I must have put them on this year's. I haven't updated it. I can just say, like, at PRHS Spanish. And they're not like, oh, on what? I'm like, on everything, like on all the things. And so so they can follow it and they can keep up, and parents can as well, and it's super fun. Again, these are like, I'm looking at these top here, these are just pictures I took anyway because I was on vacation, so why not maximize them and say, hey, you know, do you like the hot or the cold? You can scaffold it any way you want. Do you prefer hot or cold? Beach or pool? Blah, 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 blah. And again, in August, September, October, and so on and so forth, I know that these are going to pay themselves forward again because I can address these same questions. Or I can address them, you know, one day and then come back to them a few days later or a few weeks later or second semester when I have new students and I have level 2. And it's like, ta-da, you know, they don't go away. But by then, students' responses have elevated. So that's pretty cool. You know, you can go back and go, remember when you can only say like a couple of things about this? Like, now let's talk about this. Like, what's going on in the picture? Where, you know, how are people swimming or are they sunbathing? Are there a lot of people or are there few people? Why are there a lot of people? Oh, because it's nice weather out. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Like we do with little kids, right? We just keep provoking conversation and thinking. Except for with little kids, I think a lot of times we're just happy to get whatever we get. I think we're a lot more critical with older kids, especially with their L2. And I don't know that that's always fair. So I find that this is a way for me to try to give them lots of opportunities and lots of chances to say anything, right? Something, anything. Come on. So anyway, our social media pages are a lot of fun for me. They're relatively easy to maintain because, again, I'm usually just cross-posting back and forth. But I have to be comfortable with my phone. And I'd say I spend probably maybe 15 to 30 minutes a day, kind of scattered. So maybe a few minutes here, a few minutes here, a few minutes here, just posting things. But that's kind of excessive. You could probably post one thing a day and it'd be totally beneficial. You wouldn't need to post several. That's just me being kind of extra. So I think that would be totally fine. Or one every couple of days. You know, you don't have to see somebody else's like, oh my God, we have all of these and I don't know what I'm going to post and oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. Heck, you could even post those as like unit buttons, which is something that I might actually do in the fall. Is, you know, Spanish 1, Unit 1, Spanish 1, Unit 2, Spanish 1, Unit 3, and so on and so forth. And then any extra resources. Now, the kids need to have Instagram. Most of them do. Many of them do. Some will not. So you'd have to provide some kind of alternate way for them to see it. But, poof, you know, there's another resource, again, that you didn't have to do anything to create. You just had to have some intention in capturing and sort of in curating. So like sort of like a museum exhibit, you know, what do I want this to evoke? What do I want this to express? It's the same thing. It's not just sort of authentic resources for authentic resources' sake, but more is more. And if you can caption them with something thought-provoking, you know, like what defines your identity? Or, you know, is privacy important? Can it cause problems? You know, this is an incredible view. Do you pay attention? Are you present in the moment? Or are you concentrated on your phone? And so on and so forth. So you can certainly bring up some important points and stretch students. Because intermediate's the goal. Even if they're at novice, you know, they're at novice mid. That's okay. Intermediate's the goal. Intermediate's always the goal. So familiarizing yourself with Instagram, familiarizing yourself with Snapchat, probably putting your phone in the target language, and then kind of familiarizing yourself and getting really comfortable with taking screenshots, as well as like then how to take those pictures and post them. But then later afterwards, after they're posted, you can delete them off your camera roll. So also keeping up with that sort of phone burden, because that can be a lot as well. So I make sure to delete them because now they live here. I don't need to keep them. They're here now. And then eventually they're going to ship to me and be here now. So that's pretty cool. I hope this has helped, and I hope it's put some social media concepts and sort of, or planted some seeds for some social media concepts and some easy things you could do. At the end of the day, at the very least, it's exposure for your students. So if you say, screw the chat books, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to spend my $8 Totally fine. Don't worry about it. Forget the chat books. Forget the this, forget the that. I'm just going to use it for, it's just going to be like extra. So maybe I'll post like, little pictures or little like grammar notes or whatever. It's fine. I think at the end of the day, extra is extra. Nobody has to do like any certain amount of anything. And exposure is exposure. Input is input. So to me, like whatever they're getting, cool. This is just to me, technology and social media is just a way to reinforce what they're already getting. So as long as whatever's happening in the classroom is quality, this is just a way to sort of like back it up or again capture it. There is nothing that is happening on social media that can't happen in person or in a classroom or that's it. Like it's an extra, and it's just sort of harnessing the electricity in a different way. It's not creating the electricity, and it's not ignoring the other ways that the electricity can be harnessed. It's just another way. It's an additive thing for me. And so I enjoy it. My students enjoy it, and I encourage you to check it out. Let me know if you have any questions.